After the 2022 Australian Open, Matteo Berrettini must have been extremely happy with his tennis over the last 12-month period, as he had made at least the quarter-final in each of the last 4 Grand Slams, and thus he achieved a career high of number 6 in the world. But after that, he has been unable to find any form and is now 21 in the world, a far cry from where he should be in his prime years as a 27-year-old. So what happened to him? And why is he in a huge slump? Well, let's break it down. And before we continue with the video, 99% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you enjoy regular tennis content, do me a massive favour and hit that subscribe button. Firstly, let's recap why he was so good in 2021 and at the beginning of 2022. And we'll do it in reverse order. So at the AO 2022, he made it all the way to the semi-finals, losing to eventual champion Rafael Nadal in the semi-finals. But the tournament run had been at a very high level, as he had made it through 2 5-set thrillers against Alcaraz and Monfils. At the end of 2021, the US Open, he lost in the quarter-final to eventual finalist Novak Djokovic in a 4-set battle. Before the US Open, he had made it to his first ever Grand Slam final, losing to Novak Djokovic in that Wimbledon final in a close 4-set battle. And then even before Wimbledon, he made it to the Roland Garros quarter-final, and he played eventual champion Novak Djokovic in a tight 4-set battle that he went on to lose. So do you see the pattern here? If it weren't for 2 of the greatest players of all time, Berrettini could have had a couple of Grand Slams by now, or at least more Grand Slam final appearances to his name. Even then, it shows how much of a fight he can give on all surfaces, and you could reasonably argue that he was the 3rd or 4th best player in the world, especially at Grand Slams, in this given time period of 2021 to Australian Open 2022. But after that AO milestone, at the beginning of 2022, where he reached a career high of number 6, his trajectory would fall off a cliff. He would pick up an injury that sidelined him for all of clay court season in 2022. Then he returned on grass and won back-to-back titles at Stuttgart and the Queen's Club, showing his amazing ability on grass that really rewards his huge serve and big forehand, and of which he used to great effect in those 2 weeks. However, then he had to miss Wimbledon due to contracting a certain virus, and what was worse is he couldn't even defend the 1200 ranking points he obtained from reaching the final the year before, as Wimbledon were not offering any ranking points. Then at the final Grand Slam of the year at the US Open, he lost in the quarterfinals to Casper Ruud, a player that he had beaten at this tournament 2 years ago, showing that he had the game to beat him, but he wasn't able to this year, despite the fact he could do it when he was younger. And I know Ruud was also younger as well, so you could argue that he had played a better version of Casper Ruud in 2022. However, Ruud was still a top 30 player back then, so Berrettini could and should have had the game to beat Casper Ruud, or at least given him a fight, not bow out in straight sets. Now ever since then, he's had little successful tournaments. His main highlight would have been, in 2022 at least, making the Napoli final, a tournament in his home country of Italy. However, he did lose to Lorenzo Musetti, a younger Italian as well, who obviously he should be beating because he is the top echelon of tennis players in the world. He did beat Ruud at United Cup, getting his revenge. However, that 2023 Casper Ruud was nowhere near his usual level, as seen at the Australian Open, losing round 2 to Jenson Brooksby. Continuing with his bad form, Berrettini even lost round 1 in the Australian Open to Murray in a 5-set battle. Now, I know Murray is a very difficult player, especially in the early rounds. However, Matteo did have match point, and he put a backhand straight into the net. Then there was lots of warning signs coming after the Australian Open in the Golden Swing / the post-hardcourt tournaments, indoor hardcourt tournaments. He was destroyed in Acapulco, despite beating Alex Molchan, very convincingly. He got destroyed by Holger Rune, and then he was also booed off the court as he made the crowd wait for the rain delay just to come back and play barely any points and then leave the court again. I know, again, you could argue that this was due to injury, that he wasn't able to compete the way he wanted to. That's why he had to retire. But this wasn't a good showing by him at all in that match. Now, in this clay court season, he had played Monte Carlo, so as he hadn't played it last year. And despite the fact going 5-love up against Francisco Cerundolo, which if he was able to convert that first set into a win, as a 6-love or a 6-1, as he was on course to do, that would have been very confidence boosting, as Francisco Cerundolo is a very good clay court player. However, after that, he lost 7 games in a row and lost that set 7-5 and in the end it was a very tight third set battle that Berrettini did eventually win. However, he had to pull out against Holger Rune, so he wasn't able to avenge his loss in Acapulco due to getting an ab injury that similarly sidelined him at the Nitto ATP Finals in 2021. And thus, he has plummeted in the rankings. Now, why has this been? Well, firstly, this 2023 Berrettini, his main weapons being his serve and forehand combination, very, very big weapons on the court, are no longer effective anymore. Like lots of top players, top quality players that he plays, neutralise it very well. And it's no longer doing the normal damage that it does. As you saw with Holger Rune, I know there was that injury aspect there, but Berrettini's forehand and serve were just not firing and popping off like the way that they normally are. Like the kick serve is great as a change-up as well, but nothing was working. It's very, very alarming. And still, his backhand needs a lot of work, as he is very dependent on a slice rather than hitting a topspin backhand, which, as you know, you still need that topspin backhand to hit passing shots, for example, and you can't be relying on the slice in all of your rally/build-up points. As well as this, his lateral and vertical movement, being a taller guy at 6'5", needs to be a lot better than it is currently if he isn't able to reduce his ground strokes. As you can see, on a bad day, for example, his movement is not giving him any benefits, as well as that backhand. Like, I know he does have good movement, but he's nowhere near the level of a Medvedev and a Zverev, who is the same height as him, but he can move much better on a tennis court. And although they didn't have the backhands, Matteo doesn't have the backhands of them, he does have more firepower off the ground than them. So if he was able to adjust these things, even though he's 27, he would be a very, very good player. So combined with all these injuries and lack of confidence in his own game is probably to the reason why he's not able to get off the ground the way he would like to. Matteo is basically a shadow of his former self. Now this is very alarming, especially if you're an Italian fan of tennis, because lots of Italians really like Matteo Berrettini. As you can see, wherever he plays matches, there's lots of Italian flags for him. I guess now as well, with Musetti and Sinner coming up as well, the Italians have a lot to root for in tennis. But Berrettini was one of the top guys. He's been in the top 10 for 3 years. And even when you look at his results in like 2020, for example, like many of the comments on YouTube videos would be, if Berrettini could improve like his backhand a bit more, or his movement a bit more, he would definitely be a top contender. And as you can see in 2021, when his forehand and serve were just off the charts, he was a top contender for lots of titles and tournaments and Grand Slams. However, now it's been 3 years and it almost feels like there's been little progress. Like, the mental aspect this year, you could argue, is why he's been struggling, but even then, the improvements to his game have been few and far between. A few years ago, like when he made his debut on the tour, you could tell he wasn't the same player, but within a few years, his game had barely evolved from where he wanted to be. So it's very confusing. So overall, Berrettini, I do think he's lacking confidence, and hopefully he can get his confidence back, maybe with a few good grass wins. We'll see if he plays Roland Garros. We're not even sure if he's going to play Rome or not as well, another Italian hometown tournament. So hopefully the grass court season can give him some confidence. So what do you think about Berrettini's chances of becoming a top player again? Leave your thoughts and anything else in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care and peace.